What is a biblical response to a Christian brother who believes in conspiracy theories such as a New World Order, Illuminati, etc.? Okay, I love the question. I love the question, Charles, because it is a great question. And I love the question because it's encouraging to me, in accordance with the Christian biblical worldview, to know that somehow, for some reason, there is a town in Texas that is called Humble. I think there's something magnificent in that. There ought to be one in every state, but I'll just tell you, given the pride of the state of Texas, somehow it has to be explained how a town got to be named Humble. I'm going to think maybe it was named for Mr. Humble, but nonetheless, when you think about that question, this gets to something that fascinated me as a teenager. As a teenage boy, I was just really interested in many of these conspiracy theories. And they weren't then available on the internet. This required books and sometimes meetings and literature and magazines. And, there's a common thread behind this. And that common thread is something that we as Christians, thinking theologically, need to understand. There is within us a deep quest to want to know what's behind this, what's really going on. What's the explanation for all these apparently disconnected, unconnected phenomena and occurrences? And let me tell you what gives conspiracy theories credence. Two things. Number one, our understanding of sin. And thus we're not really surprised when we see evil operating in a conspiratorial way. So we have a theology that tells us, and basically there's a human instinct that tells us, there are people who probably right now are plotting very evil things and getting away with it. So that's a theological assumption. The other reason why conspiracy theories appeal to us is because they fill in all the gaps of what we don't know. And so we can't connect why this happened and that happened and why this person is here and that person is doing this. A conspiracy theory helps us to tie it all together, and that's very emotionally satisfying. There's another advantage to conspiracy theories, and that is that they're virtually impossible to absolutely disprove. And I discovered this, and I discovered it again as a teenager, because I came to know some people who believed in the Illuminati, whom you mentioned here. And by the way, this doesn't, when I say believed in them and it's a conspiracy theory, that doesn't mean that no such group ever existed. It just means that they almost certainly didn't exist in the way it was described, and with the effects and extensive involvement that were there used as the explanation. So it just so happens that this was raised as an issue in such a way that it was actually an easily disprovable fact, and I mean easily dispositive. So once I made that point and I provided just credible evidence, then I got this kind of knowing look from the person with whom I was speaking, and he said, "Well, you see, they've already duped you." And again, so there's the advantage of a conspiracy theory is, if you don't believe it, you're just a part of it, or you're a victim of it. But let me say, there's another reason throughout history that some of these conspiracy theories gain credibility and credence. They gain a little bit of traction, and that is because some of them turn out to be true. So, if you're going back a few centuries, there were a lot of conspiracies concerning the Freemasons that throughout much of medieval and early modern and even Enlightenment societies. Turned out a lot of that was true. And so the conspiracies that are related to major political movements from the Russian Revolution, turns out some of those things turn out to be true. Here's a test, though, for Christians, and I appreciate the way you asked the question, Charles. How do you speak with a brother? Number one, every Christian needs to be ready to offer real evidence for why we believe what we believe. And that evidence can't be, well, I just know these things. I read it somewhere. And it can't be the emotional satisfaction of having an answer that provides satisfaction to everything. The reality is, we have every theological reason to believe that there are real conspiracies. But in order to be a conspiracy, you've got to operate in secret. That's kind of the idea of a conspiracy. But what we might call the most devastating plans for evil are really rather open conspiracies. So That's the thing. There's enough to worry about that's very much in the open. When we ask why are certain things happening, we can generally trace that to human ideas and human agents. You don't need the conspiracy theory. And the conspiracy theory often just becomes a kind of intellectual talisman, item of fascination. And so, Charles, I would just say, remind your friend we're a people of the truth. Where are you going to start with that? And boy, there's just a whole lot more truth we can get a hold of, verifiable through the kind of authorities we would all agree to trust, that explains to us, and that begins with the Bible. The Bible tells us of the ultimate conspiracy that was begun by Satan. And in Romans chapter 1, we're told that all humanity, fallen humanity, is in a conspiracy to rob God of his glory, to subvert the truth in unrighteousness. I guess it's not a conspiracy, it's not secret if we've been told that it's real. But that's the ultimate conspiracy, and that one starts and ends in the Bible.